Andre and Elizabeth vanished from 90 Day Fiance episodes almost overnight. One moment they were part of the story, laughing, arguing, living their chaotic, messy reality, and the next, it was like they had never existed. Fans noticed it immediately. Screens froze on other couples, promos rolled out with missing faces, and social media blew up with confusion. Everyone was asking the same question: where did Andre and Elizabeth go? The abrupt disappearance wasn't just strange, it felt intentional, calculated even, and it left a hole that no one could ignore. At first, viewers thought it was a simple editing choice. Maybe the network needed filler, or maybe the story just didn't fit the new arc. But the more people looked, the stranger it became. Clips were trimmed, reunion appearances skipped, posts vanished from Instagram. Every sign pointed to one thing: TLC didn't want the world to see this couple anymore. And fans didn't hold back. Theories started circulating within hours. Some blamed production for favoritism. Others whispered about off-camera drama, things too risky or raw for television. The speculation only grew louder when longtime viewers compared episode timelines. Small inconsistencies, missing reactions, unexplained edits, it all added up to a puzzle no one could solve. And here's the kicker: what happened behind the cameras may shock you even more than the episodes themselves. Andre and Elizabeth weren't just quietly cut. There was a moment, allegedly, that forced TLC into damage control mode. Something serious, something that couldn't be broadcast without legal fallout, something fans would never guess from the polished footage they saw. The network is known for managing chaos, but even TLC has lines they won't cross. And this situation crossed a lot of them. So what really forced TLC to erase their story so fast? That's the question everyone wants answered. The disappearance isn't about a petty fight or awkward reunion. There's a real high-stakes tension here, emotional, legal, and practical, that made the network pull the plug before the season could get any messier. Every fan watching from home could feel it. The empty space left by Andre and Elizabeth screamed louder than any argument ever aired. Social media became a minefield. Reddit threads exploded. Twitter blew up with fans dissecting every scene, every Instagram story, even posts from years ago. People dug into old footage looking for clues, replayed episodes frame by frame, and tried piecing together timelines. Comment sections were packed with shock and disbelief. Why would TLC just erase a couple mid-season? And when influencers started posting about hidden fights and network cover-ups, the story took on a life of its own. Every new rumor felt like a breadcrumb leading deeper into the mystery. But here's the moment fans realized something wasn't right. It wasn't a single clip or a promo. It was a combination of tiny details that added up. Elizabeth's sudden absence from family gatherings on screen, Andre's half-finished conversations that never concluded, posts deleted or edited, subtle reactions from other cast members hinting at tension that the audience wasn't allowed to witness. Every hint pointed to one uncomfortable truth: the drama wasn't missing because it wasn't there. It was missing because it was too real, too explosive, and too risky for television. And the more people speculated, the more the mystery grew. The couple's social media silence only made fans hungrier for answers. Every deleted story, every removed photo, every skipped reunion appearance became proof that this wasn't a standard editing choice. Something major happened behind the scenes, something that even seasoned reality TV viewers hadn't seen before. TLC's actions weren't just protecting the show's image, they were protecting themselves. And this is where things start getting even messier. The calm, polished episodes were hiding a storm. What fans saw was carefully curated chaos. What they didn't see might make them question everything they thought they knew about Andre, Elizabeth, and the show itself. And wait till you see the moment fans realized something wasn't right. In the episodes leading up to their sudden disappearance, Andre and Elizabeth were already stirring the pot. Fans had a front row seat to tension that kept everyone on edge. Andre was quick to snap. Elizabeth held back but couldn't hide her frustration, and the family hovering around them seemed to push just the right buttons at just the wrong times. It was the kind of dynamic that makes viewers lean forward in their seats, heart racing, wondering how much more someone can take before the whole thing blows up. Remember the scene where Elizabeth tried to set boundaries and Andre brushed them off with that sharp tone? You could almost hear the collective sighs from viewers at home. And then there was the subtle interference from the family. Charlie's well-meaning comments often landed as jabs, and the sisters, whether intentionally or not, added fuel to the fire. You know that moment when you just want to yell, "Stop," at the screen? Yeah, that was happening every few minutes. It was like watching a slow-motion train wreck, and everyone knew it was headed off the rails. The verbal fights were just the tip of the iceberg. Behind the camera, tension was building in ways the show couldn't air. Producers were caught in the middle, trying to capture drama without letting it cross certain legal or safety lines. Even for seasoned reality TV viewers, there's a difference between on-screen arguments and what actually happens when tempers flare off camera. Fans noticed things getting stranger as episodes progressed. Clips felt shorter, reactions cut mid-sentence, and certain interactions seemed to vanish entirely. Social media became a magnifying glass, dissecting every frame for anomalies. On Reddit, fans were piecing together timelines like detectives, noticing missing segments and unusual edits. Did anyone else catch that Elizabeth wasn't in that promo? One user typed. Another replied, "I swear she disappears for a whole episode at one point." The chatter was non-stop, and theories started forming faster than the show could air new content. And while the audience debated, the underlying tension in Andre and Elizabeth's storyline was quietly escalating. One of the first signs of off-camera chaos came from moments that didn't make it on television. Doors slammed, voices raised, items moved or knocked over. It wasn't just argument, it was energy that could spill over into real-world consequences. Production teams reportedly had to intervene, reminding everyone that cameras don't capture everything, and some incidents carry risk far beyond a dramatic cutaway. Even casual viewers started sensing that something bigger was at play. There were small hints in their interactions that went beyond typical disagreements. Elizabeth's hesitation when discussing future plans, Andre's increasingly defensive tone, and the subtle pauses from family members during filming all painted a picture of conflict that had layers the audience wasn't allowed to see. And while it was tempting to chalk it up to editing, the missing pieces spoke louder than any clip that made it on air. Then there's the early hints of legal tension, which fans might have missed. Andre's green card situation was a constant underlying factor. While the show didn't dramatize it, the paperwork, deadlines, and potential consequences hovered over every decision. It's a quiet kind of stress, but in the context of off-camera arguments, it adds a layer of urgency to why certain moments were carefully cut or omitted. Nobody is saying anything happened that wasn't factual. It's just that legal and immigration concerns create boundaries for what producers can safely show. Meanwhile, the audience was reacting in real time. Twitter and Instagram exploded with confusion and speculation. "Why are they suddenly gone?" people asked. Memes popped up highlighting their absence. Posts comparing episode timelines went viral, with fans pointing out gaps that couldn't be explained by scheduling alone. The narrative was breaking apart in the public eye, and social media became both the microscope and the megaphone. And here's where the first true suspense landed. Something had shifted behind the camera in a way that made regular edits impossible to cover. The tension was no longer just interpersonal drama. It was edging into something that needed intervention. Fans had seen flashes of friction, but they had no idea how far it went. The edits, the gaps, the sudden disappearances, it was all pointing to a story that was much more serious than anyone expected. But what happens next is where the story flips completely. The moment off-camera tension spilled over is where things got intense. While viewers saw arguments and awkward pauses, what was happening behind the cameras allegedly went much further. Doors weren't just being slammed for drama, items were reportedly thrown, voices raised beyond what the cameras could safely capture, and production staff had to step in to prevent escalation. These weren't staged moments, they were raw reactions from people at the edge of their patience. Andre's behavior patterns had been building for weeks. He was quick to argue, defensive at every turn, and increasingly volatile when plans didn't go his way. Elizabeth tried to stay calm, but her patience had limits. You could see in her body language, hesitant steps, subtle retreats, clenched hands, that she was weighing every response carefully. It's not just about the fight, it's about the psychology behind every action. When someone's survival or future is on the line, even small provocations can ignite conflict. And for Elizabeth, navigating Andre's temper while under the scrutiny of cameras was a minefield. Just when you think Elizabeth is safe, the next day takes a turn. Social media started picking up on the inconsistencies in episodes. Reddit threads exploded with screenshots comparing scenes, fans piecing together gaps where she was suddenly absent, or where Andre's reaction seemed edited in a way that didn't match the previous moment. Comments on Instagram speculated endlessly. Did something happen off camera? Why is she nowhere in the promo? YouTube viewers echoed the confusion, some even tracking posting schedules to figure out when she last appeared. The audience had become amateur detectives, noticing that the story being presented didn't align with what had actually happened. And that's where network control comes in. Producers can manipulate narrative through selective editing, rearranging scenes, and suppressing footage that could expose legal or safety issues. Andre and Elizabeth's storyline illustrates this perfectly. The chaos wasn't just interpersonal, it was a liability. When physical tension escalates, even slightly, networks are forced to decide what the audience sees and what stays behind locked doors. Every moment that could risk legal action, breach of contract, or public backlash had to be handled delicately. It's fascinating to watch character behavior under this kind of pressure. Andre's volatility wasn't just temper, it was a combination of stress, personal expectations, and public scrutiny. Elizabeth's restraint wasn't passivity, it was strategy. She was constantly evaluating her options, the impact on her family, and the potential fallout on screen. These choices, small as they seemed, carried enormous weight. Fans often misread these silent calculations as weakness, but in reality they were survival mechanisms in a high-stakes environment. The fans noticed the pattern and they were vocal about it. Reddit threads dissected every pause, every glance, and every removed scene. Comments ranged from shock to outright outrage. She didn't deserve that treatment, one user typed, while another said, "How is TLC letting this slide?" On YouTube, viewers speculated about behind-the-scenes manipulation, debating whether the edits were protective or controlling. The conversation wasn't just about the drama, it was about the way the story was being presented, which added a meta layer to the unfolding narrative. Production control became even more evident when looking at scene selection. Certain confrontations were aired, others vanished entirely. Why? Some were deemed too risky, not just for viewer reactions, but for real-world consequences. Immigration issues, potential contract disputes, and physical altercations made some footage off-limits. TLC had to curate chaos carefully, keep the audience engaged, avoid lawsuits, and maintain the brand image. In a way, the gaps themselves became part of the story, creating suspense that no amount of on-screen drama could achieve. And yet, Andre continued to test limits. Small gestures, minor arguments, subtle power plays, each moment was layered with tension. It's easy to look at the footage and think the conflicts are straightforward, but in reality, the behavior reveals a chess game of control, influence, and risk management. Elizabeth's reactions were equally strategic. She spoke softly when necessary, chose silence in moments where outburst could be used against her, and maintained a consistent presence that didn't escalate unnecessarily. Fans might see the calm and assume nothing is happening, but the psychology of restraint in a volatile situation is powerful and complex. The more the story unfolded online, the more fans connected the dots. Instagram threads compared screenshots, YouTube comments noted timing inconsistencies, and Reddit users traced the editing patterns. The audience wasn't just consuming the story, they were uncovering it, and it wasn't hard to see why TLC needed to step in behind the scenes. The network had to suppress footage that could expose behavior crossing legal or contractual lines, all while keeping viewers glued to episodes that now felt incomplete. And here's the part TLC definitely didn't want you to see. Every missing scene, every abrupt cut, and every disappearance had a reason. It wasn't about hiding drama for ratings. It was about managing risk, controlling narrative, and ensuring no single incident escalated into something unmanageable. Fans were left guessing, and in doing so, engagement skyrocketed. The suspense, the silence, and the unseen tensions became a magnet for discussion, speculation, and emotional investment. At the same time, the story wasn't static. Andre and Elizabeth's dynamic continued to evolve under the pressure of off-camera stress and public scrutiny. Every choice they made, whether to speak, stay silent, confront, or retreat, added layers to the narrative. Social media amplified these layers, turning every minor facial expression or awkward pause into a topic of intense discussion. The fans became co-authors of the drama, piecing together a story that the camera alone couldn't tell. By controlling what was shown and what remained hidden, the network was shaping perception. It's a delicate balance, reveal enough to satisfy audience curiosity, withhold enough to protect the cast and the network. And in doing so, the tension didn't just stay behind the cameras. It spilled over into the comments, discussions, and fan theories that continue to this day. The real shocker isn't just the arguments or the awkward silences. It's what was at stake behind the scenes. Andre's green card and immigration status added a layer of tension no camera could safely capture. Every fight, every angry word, and every misstep had consequences that went far beyond reality TV drama. Even a small off-camera incident could trigger real legal problems, which is exactly why TLC had to step in and erase certain storylines before they aired. The stakes weren't made-up tension, they were very real, and fans only saw a fraction. TLC's strategy was clear: remove, suppress, and carefully edit. Scenes that might hint at physical conflict or legal risk vanished. Clips that could make a cast member look unpredictable or uncontrollable didn't make the cut. You could call it control, but it was also survival for the network and for the people involved. Elizabeth's sudden absence from episodes wasn't just dramatic, it was necessary. And for viewers piecing the story together, these omissions became a puzzle that kept them guessing. Producer influence was everywhere. Subtle nudges, staged reminders, and the way arguments were framed all contributed to the final story that hit the screen. Tension wasn't always organic, but it wasn't fake either. Sometimes it was about emphasizing reactions, other times about cutting moments that could spiral into serious consequences. Andre and Elizabeth had to navigate both the cameras and the producers, which created a tightrope scenario. One wrong move off camera could erase your storyline entirely. And then, there's the microdrama within the cast. Family members, friends, and fellow castmates were constantly influencing behavior, knowingly or unknowingly. Small comments became triggers, subtle looks escalated tension, and loyalty was tested against personal risk. For Elizabeth, balancing love, trust, and self-preservation became a daily challenge. Fans watching online noticed the pattern. Certain interactions aired, others didn't, creating gaps that fueled speculation. The network's power was invisible but unmistakable. Editing wasn't just technical, it was strategic. Every cut, every rearranged scene, every deleted moment was designed to keep the story engaging while minimizing legal exposure. You could see the result on screen: abrupt transitions, missing interactions, and sudden disappearances. It frustrated fans, but it also heightened curiosity. They started looking for clues in social media, in interviews, and even in minor background details that most people would normally ignore. And this is when fans started connecting dots that were never on TV. Threads on Reddit compared promos to actual episodes. Instagram users dissected timelines and pointed out inconsistencies. YouTube commenters speculated about what could have happened off-camera. And suddenly the audience wasn't just watching, they were investigating. The gaps became the story. The missing footage became drama, and the network's control became an unspoken character in itself. Every scene that remained on screen was carefully curated. Andre's volatility was shown in controlled bursts, Elizabeth's restraint highlighted as courage under pressure, and the narrative tension kept viewers engaged without putting anyone in real danger. Fans felt the suspense, questioned motivations, and debated every choice, unaware that much of the story had been shaped before the cameras even rolled. This combination of legal stakes, producer strategy, and cast microdrama created a potent mix. What viewers experienced was the tip of the iceberg, a dramatic highlight reel built on a foundation of unseen tension. Every absence, every cut, and every editorial decision carried weight, reminding fans that reality TV is as much about what's hidden as what's shown. Once Andre and Elizabeth vanished from episodes, social media erupted. Fans noticed the gaps immediately. Tweets questioned why scenes were missing. Reddit threads dissected every promo and snippet. People weren't just watching. They were hunting for the truth. You could feel the suspense online. Theories bounced between what was probably just editing and what seemed too deliberate to ignore. Every post added fuel to the mystery, turning casual viewers into amateur detectives. The contrast was striking. On-screen chaos showed arguments, tension, and awkward silences, but off-camera, it was almost eerily quiet. Elizabeth wasn't posting updates, Andre wasn't sharing anything, and the usual cast interactions were noticeably absent. That silence wasn't empty, it was a storytelling tool. It made fans pay closer attention, analyze every minor detail, and ask questions the episodes never answered. The story continued without words, and people filled the blanks themselves. You start to wonder, would you have noticed these gaps if you weren't following every social account, every comment, every promo? Would you have caught that subtle disappearance between two seemingly ordinary episodes? For fans who did, the puzzle was addictive. Every missing scene became a clue, every abrupt edit a potential revelation, and every social media absence a signal something bigger was going on. And as the speculation grew, so did the theories. Some suggested off-camera fights, others hinted at legal troubles, and a few believed producers were deliberately shaping a hidden narrative. No one knew the full truth, but the tension kept viewers coming back, trying to connect dots that were deliberately left incomplete. Every new post, every reaction, every comment was a chance to feel closer to the drama the network kept from the public. And the more fans dug, the stranger this story got. Online discussions turned into mini investigations, and fans weren't just observers, they became part of the unfolding drama. Every small revelation sparked new questions, and the suspense built higher, making the next episode, or the next post, impossible to ignore. The silence became loud, the absence became central, and the gaps told a story just as compelling as the one on TV. Elizabeth's position was complicated, and you could feel it in every scene she managed to appear in. She was caught between loyalty to Andre and the reality of what was happening around her. You can imagine the stress, trying to maintain composure while everyone online is speculating, while producers are nudging her into tense moments, while off-camera chaos simmers. Fans saw calm on screen, but you start to sense the tension beneath the surface. That constant balancing act between protecting someone she cares about and navigating her own safety was exhausting. Andre, on the other hand, carried volatility like a second personality. His behavior sometimes teetered on the edge of risk. One moment he was charming, the next he escalated arguments or pushed boundaries that made everyone around him nervous. You can understand why a network like TLC would watch closely. These aren't just dramatic moments, they have real consequences, from contract breaches to potential legal troubles. Watching his patterns, you notice repeated cycles, a fight, a pause, a moment that seems innocent, then another flash of tension. It's almost hypnotic to watch, but unsettling too. The psychology of fear, frustration, and trust dynamics is fascinating here. Elizabeth's silence, her careful words, her body language, it all reflects someone constantly assessing danger and loyalty at the same time. Andre's responses, impulsive and unpredictable, force her into decisions she might never have imagined. You see the weight of off-camera consequences in every glance, every hesitation, every understated reaction. And just when you think you've figured the dynamic, the next episode, or rather the missing piece of it, throws you off again. The final reveal hits even harder, showing why TLC couldn't leave this story on air without risk. Fans might debate motives, sympathize, or criticize, but the tension is undeniable. You start to connect the dots between human behavior and production choices. You understand the stakes weren't just about drama, they were about safety, perception, and legal exposure. This is the moment that explains why TLC acted fast. Every edit, every cut, every vanished scene suddenly makes sense. The network wasn't suppressing drama for no reason. They were protecting people, managing risk, and controlling a story that could have spun dangerously out of reach. TLC's control behind the scenes is something most viewers never see, but it shapes everything you watch. The network isn't just filming chaos. They are orchestrating, nudging, and sometimes erasing. When a cast member acts unpredictably, or a moment escalates off camera, the cameras don't just stop rolling. Producers step in. Scenes get reshaped, edited, or quietly removed. You start to realize that the story you see isn't the story that actually happened. It's the version TLC deems safe and profitable. The erase and reset approach is subtle, but powerful. Entire storylines can vanish, social media activity can be adjusted, and cast interactions rewritten through careful editing. Andre and Elizabeth disappearing mid-season wasn't a fluke. It was a calculated move to prevent risk from spiraling, to protect the network from legal trouble, and to maintain a brand image. And while fans debate what really happened, the network quietly keeps control, ensuring the drama that reaches you is still chaotic enough to engage, but not dangerous enough to explode publicly. Watching how behavior, consequences, and network strategy intersect is fascinating. Andre's unpredictability, Elizabeth's careful balancing act, and the family dynamics all play into a system where the network has the final say. Every volatile moment is a risk. Every reaction is a puzzle piece, and every social media post has potential consequences. TLC's decisions aren't random, they're strategic, protecting both their talent and themselves while still feeding the audience the drama they crave. And just when you think the story has been resolved, you see hints of the next wave. Tiny edits, sudden silences, and unexplained absences point toward upcoming chaos. The network has already set the stage for the next season, planting seeds of tension, conflict, and unpredictable behavior that will keep fans glued to screens. The control may be invisible, but its impact is enormous. And if you think it's over, the next season will prove you wrong. Every vanished scene, every subtle edit, every calculated pause feeds into a system designed to shock, intrigue, and escalate. TLC knows exactly what they're doing. And the real story, the one the cameras didn't catch, is waiting to unfold in ways fans aren't fully ready for. The drama around Andre and Elizabeth didn't just shock fans, it left a trail of unanswered questions, vanished episodes, and social media buzzing with theories. Every sudden disappearance, every edited scene, and every silent moment created a ripple effect that fans couldn't ignore. People weren't just watching the show anymore, they were analyzing gaps, reading between the lines, and piecing together a story the cameras never fully captured. The tension was real, the stakes were high, and the emotional fallout lingered long after the episodes aired. Elizabeth's struggle between loyalty, fear, and public scrutiny made her decisions feel human and relatable, while Andre's unpredictable behavior reminded everyone that reality TV isn't always just entertainment. It carries real consequences. And behind all of it, the network's control shaped the narrative in ways most viewers never realized, turning chaos into a carefully managed spectacle that kept audiences hooked without exposing legal or personal risks. The unresolved questions are what keep the conversation alive. What really triggered the off-camera confrontation? How far will the network go to maintain control? Which cast members are next on the chopping block? Every edit, every vanished moment, and every calculated silence points to future drama that fans can't stop speculating about. Next, we'll reveal what happens when another cast member crosses the line and how far the network is willing to go to contain the fallout. And you won't believe who might be next to vanish from the show.